So my one degree change actually happened with one tight slap. You know, I thought I'll start with a joke to lighten the mood, but I realized, in fact, I'm not a very funny person at all. I have no funny bones. So I'm going to tell you my story the way it is, as is. Very unimpressive. I was born in a very small city in the northeastern part of India called Guwahati. I was born to a very conservative Marwari joint family, but luckily for me, my parents loved all the children equally. I clearly remember that Assam in those days was very troubled and disturbed because of terrorism. And we were on the list of the kidnappers for a ransom. It wasn't a blessing always. It's not always a blessing to be from an affluent family. I remember I was 13 years old, and one day while returning from school, I just walked into the house, and my dad gave me one tight slap across my face. It angered me, upset me, and frustrated me. I did not deserve that slap. I was late by just 5 minutes. When I look back, I understand that my dad slapped me because he was worried. He was worried that maybe, I was kidnapped. I understand that now, but back then I did not understand. I insisted that I was sent to a boarding school because I did not want to live a life like that. I did not want to be restricted just for 5 minutes. I mean, hell no. And luckily for me, my dad did agree to send me to a boarding school. I was sent off to Missouri soon after, which is where life changed for me. Not only that I had a great time, I made friends for life, I had a ball, but I was also recognized by my teachers as a potential art student. They encouraged me and gave me every single opportunity that one could have to pursue my art. I used to spend a lot of my time painting in my art classes. At the age of 17, I had my first painting exhibition. I received a lot of appreciation for the same. I was in fact offered an unconditional offer from the University of Arts London to pursue a foundation year. And in the 11th standard, having an unconditional offer, basically you don't need to study anymore, right? Like you don't need to give your boards, you have an offer, you have a place in a university. But I did finish my schooling in Missouri. And like I said, I came from a very conservative Marwari family background. And nobody from my city had ever been abroad. No Marwari girl had ever been abroad to study. But against all odds, I was sent. I was very excited with the whole idea of studying in London, living in London, having all the freedom. But that's when I got my second tight slap. London was anything but fun. I missed home and my friends, my family, miserably. I was miserable. I was lonely. I didn't want to be there. I just wanted to come back home. Anything that would bring me back to India, my family, my friends. My foundation years were great. The few months that I got, for the first 6 months that I spent there, I got to experiment with various forms of art. I got to learn pottery, photography, graphic designing, textile, painting. I got my hands dirty in various forms of art. In my head, I thought I'd be a graphic designer. It seemed the right profession to get in at that point. But to my disappointment, my mentors and my teachers said there was nothing in my work that indicated me of being a graphic designer. They said I should be a textile designer. Textile? I never even thought of fabric or clothing or textile or anything like that. After 6 months, I had to make a portfolio to apply for my undergrad programs and apply to a senior university. I decided if I had to study textile, and this is what I wanted to do, I would apply in only 2 universities, Either I studied at the best or not at all and come back home. So I applied at the Central St. Martin's and Chelsea College of Art and Design. And luckily or unluckily, I got through both. The dean at the college then, he said, Pallavi, listen, going to Central St. Martin's is like having a cherry on the cake. You have it all, you're sorted, you're done. But going to Chelsea would be walking on fire. You would really need to work hard, but you would learn. Me being me, I have never taken an easy path in my life. I chose Chelsea over St. Martin's. But there was another reason why I chose Chelsea. Chelsea had this very exciting second-year program where only 2 students would get to be sent to New York to study at the FIT. I thought, been in London for 2 years. If I get 6 months at FIT, come back to London, it might be just a great idea to, have another experience. And FIT is a great university. So I worked really hard. I did get selected to go to FIT New York. To my bad luck, an unfortunate incident happened. The 11th of September happened. I came back to India to apply for my visa. I got rejected twice. Twice my US visa was rejected, and I had to be back home for 3 months. I didn't want to sit at home. I have never been home. Honestly, I did not know how to live an idle life. So I decided to come to Delhi and do internship at this export house called Magnolia. This is where I met Siddharth, the love of my life. I fell instantly in love with him. It was like the best thing at that point. It was in the internship. It was nothing. It was just all about Siddharth. I spent a lot of time with him the 2 months that I interned in the company. We started dating, but had to go back to university in 2 months. Sid started traveling to London very often on the pretext of doing business meetings. I didn't mind that. I mean, which girl or which person does not like attention? I loved every time Siddharth visited me. I started tagging along with him to all the business meetings that he attended. This is how I got introduced to the fashion world. I've always studied textile to be an interior. I wanted to design textile for interiors. I was a tomboy. I was nothing like a girl. I finished my graduation, I came back to India, and I married Siddharth. Everything was brilliant, everything was going on well, everything was lovely. I started shadowing my mother-in-law, who's an excellent entrepreneur, a great mentor, a designer, the best salesperson I've ever known. I started shadowing her. And my father-in-law became my best friend. But a very unfortunate incident happened when I got my 4th tight slap. I lost my father-in-law within 8 months of my marriage. It was difficult times for all of us in the family. Things changed at home and at work. I found myself taking over my mother-in-law's responsibility of designing, marketing, and selling. I was just learning. It was just 8 months. But we all had to do what we had to do, right? I took it up as a challenge to do my best. In the 8 months that I was there, I met this gentleman called Piero, who was a buying agent for us in Italy. There was something about him that always attracted me. He had this warmth. He was like a father figure to me. He didn't speak a word of English, and I didn't speak a word of Italian. But there was a connect. I wanted to grow our business in Italy just because I connected with him as a human being. I started traveling to Italy intensively, trying to sell my designs, get new customers, grow the company, grow the business. From having worked with just about 4 brands in Italy, We expanded in about 2 years, working with almost 35 to 40 brands. We worked with every single fashion label in Italy. When this happened, my friends, people around me said, Pallavi, you're designing, you're making the product, you're manufacturing it, but they put their label on it. Why don't you start your own fashion brand? Why don't you make design under your own brand? I said, guys, this isn't happening. I'm not doing this. I'm not serious about this I'm not serious about launching myself in the Indian market. My friend said, this is exactly what you need to call your brand, Not So Serious. And this was the birth of Not So Serious. This was 2007. I was just 25 then. I was handling the marketing, design, product development for Magnolia, and Not So Serious happened as well. I did not want to just do be a fashion week designer right from the beginning. So for the first 2 years, I did small exhibitions across the country, took up stalls in smaller exhibitions, inexpensive exhibitions, just to understand how people perceived fashion in India. What was the sensibility? What was the mentality? What were people willing to pay? When I got the right confidence, in 2009, I launched the label at the Wills India Fashion Week. By the critics, the critics said that I was the most promising upcoming designer. I was excited. It was good times for Not So Serious and Magnolia. Both the companies were growing steadily, slowly, but they were growing. This is when I got my 5th tight slap. I realized I sucked at time management. I had my feet in 2 different boats. I had Magnolia and Not So Serious. And subsequently, I realized that both the companies were suffering because I wasn't giving them the time. I was the only one designer in the company doing designing and marketing and selling for both the brands. It wasn't practical. I had to let go. I had to let go of all the control that I had. I needed to delegate. I needed to learn to trust people. I needed to build a team. So from being just one designer in the company, now in Magnolia, we have a team of 15 designers and 150 people in product development. Not So Serious has its own team of designers and marketing and sales team. I lead them, direct them, and guide them, but I don't try and do everything myself. This is what I did for the longest time. After I let go and I started trusting in people, the company subsequently grew. Magnolia, from having its footings just in Europe, now we have footings in UK, US, Japan. We have a team of about 2,000 people working in our company. We have also gone ahead and started building actually a green factory, an eco-friendly factory, which will be one of its kind in India. It's going to be zero discharge waste factory. We're going to give back to the grid. We're going to produce our own electricity. There's going to be no water wasted. It's a green factory, one of its kind in the country. While Not So Serious has its footings in about 100 boutiques across the world, in all of Middle East, India, US, UK. And very recently, I opened my first flagship store in Delhi. But this only happened because I let go, and I had to trust people. To sum it all up, I would say my first slap changed my environment. My second slap taught me to accept a new environment. My third slap made me accept rejection. My fourth slap made me handle the imperishable loss. My fifth slap made me realize the limitation of my own mindset. Now I'm just waiting for my sixth tight slap to learn more and change more. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks.